Today, we're going to be taking a look at the strongest air attack strategies at Town Hall 10. And if you want to use any of these strategies, if you want an easy way to copy them, the links will be down in the description below. But we're going to be starting off with this army right here, which is Dragbat. And we do have the Stone Slammer. We've got the extra dragon in the CC as well. I like that over a Dragon Rider just to kind of keep the troops away from the bats as they move through the base so they're not pulling red air bombs. And then taking a look at the hero equipment, I do prefer the Vamp Stash for the Barbarian King here because he is going to stay alive longer with that. And then of course the Rage Vial as well. If you have one or both of the King's epic equipments, they are going to be better for you to run. So if you've got both of them, just run the Giant Gauntlet and the Spiky Ball. If you only have one, make sure one of those goes in. And for the Queen, we actually have the Giant Arrow to try to take out any sweepers in the core of the base. And then we pair that up with the Archer Puppet because the Invis Vial isn't going to be super helpful right at the start of the attack when you're going to be popping that Queen's ability for the Giant Arrow. And again, if you have the epics for her, the Frozen Arrow is not going to be super helpful, but you could swap away the Archer Puppet for the Frozen Arrow, or if you have the mirrors, I would use the mirrors and the Giant Arrow. All right, here we go with that first example. So we will start with the Queen's Giant Arrow. The goal is to try to get as many Wizard Towers down and as many Multi-Inferno Towers down with your heroes and your dragons before you send in the bats to try to help support the dragons on the back side of the base. So here we go. We're going to go from the bottom, try to get at least one of these air sweepers with the Giant Arrow. That's also going to help set the funnel as well. So there's the Queen. There's the Giant Arrow. We do get one of the sweepers out of the way, so that does help out at least a little bit. And the Queen will grab an air defense as well, which is also going to be helpful. So we'll start the baby dragon over here, get the Barbarian King in. We are not going to use the Giant for any of the Wizard Towers because none of the Wizard Towers can reach the Giant from where they're at. So we're just going to use the Giant to basically support the King. Send in one Wall Breaker, check for any traps. There's a Giant Bomb. And then let's send in the rest. Try to get this opened up so the King can run in and maybe get something extra. There we go. He does go straight in. Can he get the Queen is the question. I don't think. No, he's taking way too much damage. All right, that's fine. What we're going to do now, send that in, send in this, and then the dragon there and some more dragons here. And there we go. So that's going to set the funnel on the corner. And then everything else is going to push right down the middle. We're going to use the Rage to get through the enemy Queen, the Expo, and the Multi-Inferno Tower. So we got that Stone Slammer opening up, which is fine. And here we go. Let's Rage right there. That should get him through the enemy Queen here as they step up. Come on, dragons. There we go. Starting to step up. Take out the enemy Queen. We got the enemy dragon as well, but we're going to save our freezes. So they're going to take out the Wizard Tower on the bottom side. Let's start the bats here so that they can support the dragons on this back side of the base. Now, you do want to be careful of putting your bats in too close to the dragons. That Wizard Tower is distracted, so I saved my freeze. But if you start your bats too close to the dragons, if they pull a red air bomb, they're going to get cooked, and you don't want that to happen. There's another freeze on the Tesla farm, and then we can just freeze up this Expo Wizard Tower a couple of times. We still have our max level freeze in the bag. Drop it in, and that should be absolutely crushed. We still have bats left alive, which is definitely a very good sign here. We got a lot of dragons left alive, so this is going to be a 3-star all day long. Let's move on to the next strategy. So here we go with the next army. It is going to be dragons again, but this time it's going to be Zapquake instead of bats. And we do have the Dragon Rider in the Clan Castle instead of the regular dragon. So those are going to be the main differences. Also, the entire approach of the attack is going to be a little bit different because you're not necessarily setting up for the bat spells on the back end. The hero equipment's going to stay exactly the same. So let's go ahead and jump into an attack. All right, so with the lightning spells and the earthquake, you could potentially try to take out 2 air defenses if you can line them up with the Giant Arrow shot from the Queen. On this kind of base, this setup, it is quite a bit more difficult, but in some bases, you might have 2 air defenses that are a lot closer together. So if you can damage them both, you can take them both down with the Zapquakes and the Giant Arrow. If they're really close together, you could just zap them together. But in this case, we're going to see if we can take 2 out anyway. It's going to be really tricky to line up the shot, but we're going to give it a go. We'll let the Queen kind of take care of that. And then once she turns that way, that's going to be way too much of an angle, actually. So that's not going to work. Let's see how she turns here. I don't think we're going to be able to line up 2 of them. In any case, we'll try to at least get... We'll be able to damage that one. We do get a sweeper out of the way as well. And the Queen will finish off that air defense. So we got an air defense and a sweeper. You want to zap one of the air defenses on the far side of the base. We're going to be starting up here, so we zap an air defense on the back end. You don't want to zap these ones that are up close because you're going to be taking them down sooner anyway. But here we go. Send in some of the balloons, send in all the dragons, send in a few more of the balloons. And there we go. If you want to, you could save a couple of balloons and send in the Stone Slammer on a different area, just use a couple of balloons to basically tank for him. But in this case, we're just going to send everything together. We're going to rage here to get through the enemy dragon, get through that single inferno as quickly as we can. Pop the king's ability. He is continuing to funnel down the right side of the base. The queen got the funnel pretty well set on the other side. Let's rage through the enemy queen here. Try to get through that expo as well. And then where do we need to rage next? Probably rage through that air defense. Let's go ahead with a freeze here. And then, we're going to get a little bit stuck on that enemy king too, which is not ideal. But the Stone Slammer opens up the wall, so the king can move in. Unfortunately, he's not very healthy, but there we go. We get the air defense out of the way, and that's going to be the last big threat for the dragons. Once all the air defenses are gone, we do have an expo, but we did hit it with the Zap Quake, so it's not super healthy. And that should not be enough to defend this base. We got a handful of dragons left. The Stone Slammer's going to open up. We got a king and a dragon. This will be a 3-star, so we will cut to the end of this one before we move on to the next attack. All right, here we go. This is going to be the last strategy for this video. It's going to be a hero dive LaLo. So we got the golem there that's going to help with the hero push into the base. We also have a flame flinger this time, which there's lots of different options you can do, especially with LaLos. So you can basically use whatever you want. I like to use the flame flinger just because it does get tremendous value, especially here at Town Hall 11. As far as the hero equipment, I'm going to keep the Barbarian King the same, but I did switch the giant arrow back to the Invis Vial, so the queen's back to her old school abilities for this one, just because I feel like that gives her a better push into the base. You could still do tricks with the giant arrow, try to take out sweepers, maybe swap for some lightning spells or earthquakes and try to go for some bigger targets, but I like to keep it simple, so we're going back to the old school queen ability. Let's do the last example attack. All right, here we go. So this is going to be similar to the Hog Rider attack if you guys watched my previous video. So the goal for the LaLo is you want to get the enemy queen dealt with and you want to get the enemy CC dealt with. Those are going to be the two biggest things to make sure you try to take care of before you send in the balloons. But first, what we're going to do is start the flame flinger on the right side of the base. There's only one mortar over there, so no other mortars, no expos. It should be able to get a good bit of value. So that's where we're going to start. Let's do that. So let's get the flinger in. All right, next archer is in, and that should keep it distracted long enough to not get hit. Nope, it's going to take one shot. That's fine. Not the end of the world there. All right, so let's start then the rest of it on the top side of the base. Let's actually go ahead and get the baby dragon in for a funnel. So there we go. We got the baby dragon in. Let's get the wizard in right here. And I think that should be good enough. We're trying to break in basically on that junction there. That is going to be at least the goal. We'll see if we can make it work. I don't want to send the golem in quite yet, actually, because it's not going to go into the base until we get that opened up. That expo is also going to be a problem. So let's... Oh, it locked onto the king. I didn't even realize. That's fine. Send these in. And then once that wall is opened up, we'll send in the golem and the queen. And there we go. That should be enough to take out the enemy queen and the CC troops. Hopefully we can get this lure down. And there we go. We got the queen aggro to the king, but I think she might take him down, unfortunately. We did get the CC pulled. We can go ahead and do a poison here. All right, that'll help take care of things. We just need the queen to step up, and we'll be good to go. The flame flinger, in the meantime, still doing good work on the other side. So the key here is just going to be patient. And that's going to be the name of the game at the moment. Looks like the flinger is going to get opened up by that mortar on the bottom side of the base. The queen will pop her ability. She should take down the dragon. There we go. The dragon's out of the way. Why is the enemy queen still up? Holy cow. She needs to go down. That's going to be a big problem if she stays alive. One more shot. Go, queen. All right. Queen trade. We like it. We'll take it. Let's start the LaLo now. We'll go from the top side of the base, and then we'll kind of deploy them in the same way we did the Hog Riders. Again, if you've seen that video. If not, you just want to be careful not to clump up your balloons. Don't send them all in the same space. All right. And let's send the hound from here. We're still hanging on to some of these. Let's actually rage through the core and get through that as quickly as we can. That sweeper is going to be very annoying. We'll go ahead and do that. We're going to heal here heading into the backside of the base. Start sending in some backside balloons. Let's freeze the multi. We'll do a haste. I mean, we got spells for days. This is looking good. It's good. And we're just going to save that last balloon for cleanup, honestly. We'll freeze. We'll haste. This is absolutely crushed. Let's see where the storages are. Let's go over here with the balloon. Put a wizard down here away from the enemy king. And there we go. I think we are looking good for cleanup. We got cleanup troops all over the base. And no defenses left. Plenty of time. This will be a triple. We're going to skip to the end before we wrap up the video. And there we have it, a triple on the board. So like I said, this is going to be a strategy that takes a lot more practice to get used to. But once you get the hang of it, it is one of the strongest attacks, not just at Town Hall 10, but at every Town Hall level above it. And there's so many different ways to do LaLo. This is just one little example of how to execute it. That is going to be a wrap for this video. If it helped you guys out at all, please do consider subscribing down below. And if you want to see some ground attacks at Town Hall 10, I recommend checking out this video right here.